got a lot of people asking me what the plans are for housing. Referendum Party of Canada, we're basically going to change the way housing is in Canada, and we're going to adopt to a European system where if you're not a Canadian citizen, you can't buy a house. You can't buy a condo, you can't buy anything. The reason for it is because allowing outsiders to come and start regulating our market and deciding how much they want to charge for rent, and the government not doing anything about it, seems to me to be a Ponzi scheme. What I'm getting at is, if a house on the street sells for $1.2 million, and another one next to it, or one more close to it, sells for the same price, or close to the price, then the value of the houses are brought up. Now, if you want to manipulate a market, then what you want to do is buy into the market and pay as much as possible for the houses to stimulate a high price in market. So, Ponzi scheme works as such. You get realtors to take the houses and sell them on the Asian market and on the European market. Whoever pays the most receives the house. And in the end, what that does is it permits realtor companies to start buying these houses and holding on to them and attempting to raise the price. The reason they want to raise the price is because when they sell a house, they make a big bonus. And it's about a bonus, not about the citizens of Canada. It's about the bonuses they get for selling properties. And in the end, they laugh at us. They say we're racist towards particular races. And in the end, when you watch those races in Canada who run, a lot of the realtor companies who go selling houses, you'll notice that they're in it for the money. And what happens then is common Canadian can't afford a house. They don't care if they sell the house to a criminal. They don't care if they sell it to a blackmailer. They don't care who they sell the house to, as long as they get top dollar for the house. Like, you're going through a COVID, and you got a whole bunch of realtors on TV saying the market is booming. And what that is part of the Ponzi scheme, is they'll actually buy a house from each other at a much higher rate to try to stimulate the people to buy $1.5 million house that's only worth $100,000. A Ponzi scheme is created when, and can be created by the government, when you take a commodity, say housing, and that you manipulate it. You buy a bunch of houses and you get the realtors to start selling the houses outside of the nation. And you got to consider wages. You got to consider the value of the dollars compared to the Canadian dollar. And I wouldn't be surprised if the government had it in such a way that if you buy a house, you can actually migrate to Canada. And so, are they selling a passport, a Canadian citizenship, along with the house? We'll find out when we go in office. When the Referendum Party of Canada is elected in, we're going to take a look at how this crisis started and who's responsible for it. And whoever is, we're going to bring them to court. And we're going to see if we can recover from this Ponzi scheme. And I think it's going to be extensively hard because a lot of Canadians were brainwashed into believing their properties are going to skyrocket. And their properties aren't going to skyrocket. Their properties right now are valued so high that a common working person can't afford them. Under the Referendum Party of Canada, it's going to end. All properties that were sold to foreigners are going to be expropriated. And they're going to be expropriated, and realtors are going to be taken to court. And I'm going to see if I can have them thrown in jail for running a Ponzi scheme, for creating a market value that never existed. This Canadian government are jackasses to allow your homes to be sold to outsiders. Will cause much further problems. And it seems that a lot of government officials own a whole lot of houses. Christy Clark retired with what, 7 houses? To me, if that doesn't show you that there's corruption and there's something wrong in the picture, and I don't know what is. I don't know what will. Same with Trudeau. He's $8 million wealthier, and I'm confused how he managed to become $8 million wealthier. And then when I start looking at the way the resources are sold, the way he's selling out Canadian resources to foreigners, I understand how he did it. And so, when I get elected, we're going to pursue him. We're going to pursue other former prime ministers that are still alive and aren't dead and rotting in hell. We're going to pursue them. We're going to see if we can remove their finances from them. We're going to see if we can have them placed in jail for corruption. Corruption and running Ponzi schemes is illegal, as well as pilfering, as well as plundering and assisting others to pilfer and plunder and receiving financial benefits from it. Under the Referendum Party of Canada, it's going to be illegal to do that. No foreigners are going to own homes in Canada. It's going to give a chance for Canadian citizens who work really hard to purchase homes. We're going to lower the prices of houses to the value of the build of the house, as it was before idiot Trudeau, his father, got into office. Before Maroney started selling everything else out, the resources, anything they could sell to foreign, they did. And so to me, I'd rather be recognized as a leader of Canada, as a person who ran Canada in a very compassionate way towards its people. If I made $8 million in 4 years, it'd be returned to the people. To run a country, you got to be honest. When they run a country, they do this. And what they're doing is they're holding secrets. And when they do this, they're greasing each other's arms. The problem with Trudeau is he hasn't done anything to better the people's wealth. He hasn't done anything to better the lives of the Canadian citizens. The banks are doing the same thing. TV, telephone, none of them through the COVID pandemic are even lowering the prices because they're based on profit. And I don't understand why citizens of Canada are allowed to walk away with this profit when the Canadian government should have created a TV provider for them where they get the profits, because are they not the ones paying the exorbitant amount of cash for reruns? It's the same with the housing market. It shouldn't be realtors making all that money. It should be the citizens of Canada, because they're the ones who are having homes sold to foreigners from under their feet, and they don't even get a dime from it. And you watch a show about the wealthy Asian realtors in Canada. It's such a slap in the face to see that they weren't born here and they're making millions of dollars selling your properties to foreigners. And they're not doing it for you. They're not doing it for the Canadian citizen. They're doing it for themselves so they can dress up and they can ride their fancy cars and they can get their hair done. They're doing that for themselves. And where's that wealth going? The wealth isn't going to common Canadians. It stays with them in their corrupt ways. So to me, under the Referendum Party of Canada, it's going to end. I want Canadians to be able to afford a home. I want to stick to Norwegian housing system where every Canadian, when they're born, they have a right to own a home, and it's provided to them. We have all this forest, we have all this land, and yet the Canadian government makes it look like it's going out of its way to house the homeless. They haven't even housed hardworking Canadians, and they're going to go house people who are addicted to drugs and get money every month from welfare, but refuse to pay rent. They choose to do drugs. It's not a social problem. It's a lack of common sense. So, in the end, it shows that the government is not willing to do much for the people, that they're willing to remove an eyesore, and yet they're just going to keep doing their drugs. They're going to destroy the homes they live in. They're going to have parties in their homes, and then what? you'll have to provide them with more homes and more homes. You got Canadians, you got people from America who migrated here, and other people from Asia who migrated here and worked for 30 years, can't even afford a home. Don't you think you should be providing them with a home first? Don't you think you should be helping the people who help build the nation? I would. A leader of Canada, I would do just that. I would invest in the people, because by investing in them, you build up your economy. By building up your economy, you guarantee them a future. Now, figure if you're schooled in politics, you'd know all that. Problem is, most of you are schooled and want to be wealthy, and you're doing it because you want to make yourselves wealthy, and most of us are seeing it now. We're looking at the housing crisis. We're looking at not even $15 an hour minimum wage. Hey, city workers working for City Hall get $20 an hour because they can't live on anything less, and the government hasn't raised the minimum wage. And so it shows you that they take care of their own government officials. They grease each other's hands, they shake each other's hands, and they hold them tight because they have secrets. So when I get elected, we're going to open up the book of secrets. We're going to see whose hand they greased. We're going to see what family member got top-paying jobs. We're going to see who ran government and why Canada is in such a mess. And it'd be enough there to write a big book and do a movie on. Personally, I have no respect for Mulroney because he's done nothing for the Canadian people. Trudeau should go dance with the Queen. Same with his father like son. You look at the rest of the leaders. What did they do? What did they do to better the lives of Canadian citizens? What did they do to better the lives of the migrants who have Canadian citizenship now? Not a fucking thing. And that's what I'm getting at. How can they do anything for the people when they all earn over $100,000 a year? How can they help the people when they get free gas and a free car, free meal, free rent, free? And who pays for it? The Canadian citizen. Under Referendum Party of Canada, your party's going to be over. Your freeloading's going to be over. What you motherfuckers are to me is a tit on a bull. You guys are milking Canadians. You're on a Canadian nipple and you're just sucking it dry. Under the Referendum Party of Canada, housing's going to change, land ownership's going to change, and resource ownership's going to change. You guys are all to make Canadians poor working slaves. I'm going to have fun running against all of you. I look forward to the next election. I really do. Jen Long.